So a couple ground rules here. Most of you guys who have joined probably noticed that you guys can't turn your mics on or your videos. I'm just doing that just to avoid unwanted disruptions. Later toward the end, I'm going to lay out like how the Q&A will work and how I'll do my best to answer every single question before I jump off that comes up. Again, I just didn't know how many people to expect on this first one, so I've kind of kept things pretty structured in terms of what options everyone has available to them. So it is recording. I will post this online for anyone who wasn't able to make it. So really quick, I'm going to post the agenda in the chat, and you guys can follow along with that. I'm going to cover all those things, just to keep the transition smooth. I'm not going to be sharing my screen. Things that I would share in my screen, I've hyperlinked to the agenda. So I know if you guys are on your cell phones and tuning in, it's going to be kind of hard to go back and forth. But I'll post the agenda periodically throughout the session. And then if you guys have specific questions about the documents in there, you guys will be able to ask your questions through Q&A. So really quick, if you can see in the agenda there, one thing that I'm going to do whenever we do these, I have 5 scheduled. And if we need more, maybe we can look at scheduling more. But one thing I'm going to do is to start each thing, I'm going to turn over a couple of minutes to each of Weber High's assistant principals, because they all kind of supervise the major pillars of our school. And they're just going to share out various things about what's happening in the school in their areas. So the first person I'm going to turn it over to is Mr. Taylor Allen, who's new to us this year, and he's over athletics and operations. So Taylor, go ahead and give us an update.
Hello, Weber High community. I'm excited to come from Davis Schools, and I really am enjoying my time here. Real quick, let's give you an update on operations. We have new secure vestibules here at Weber High. It's a brand new thing for us. So when you come into Weber High, it'll look different. The front doors will be open and accessible, but from there, you got to check in. You won't be able to walk freely into the commons or into the gym area without getting buzzed in during the school day. This is a huge upgrade to keep our students safe and monitor who's inside our school. So it's really great. The check-in is just right there. We have a new window built in when you come to the front doors. You can talk to our secretary there. As far as athletics, we're in a full swing in the fall season. Football had a great win down at Westlake Friday night. I got to meet with all the teams and all the athletes along with our athletic director. And one of my big takeaways is we have coaches that are really great for kids. Our expectations is to have our teams have incredible student athlete experiences, build a great culture with the kids and the community, include and involve the community and the parents, and then be competitive. One of the things we are going to look at this week is moving the student section at football games. We are really conscious of parents and their experience at the football game. And so we will have an update on that Friday.
All right, thanks, Taylor. Ryan Gross up next. He's our other assistant principal joining us. We have 3 new ones this year. Ryan's doing all of our student activities and just student climate culture and things like that. So Ryan, take it away.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name's Ryan Gross. Like Dr. Catchwold said, I'm new assistant principal here, and I'm over student activities and life. Anything related to that is my area. So some important things I have to talk about with you guys this morning are really the activities and events we have coming up on the schedule, starting with this week. For the first 3 days of school, our student body officers and our class officers have organized what they call the Week of Welcome. And every day after school, there's going to be activities and events going on that students can go participate in. With the early out schedule, these events will just be right after school, either in the commons or up on one of the practice or football fields. So the first event they have is a water balloon volleyball game / water balloon fight. On Thursday, they have a cereal bar where students will be able to come by and get some cereal and snack on their way out. And then for our final event, we have some hamster balls coming that people can climb into and, I guess, beat each other up, hit each other around with those. So that's super fun. I'm really excited for that. Our officers are really excited for that as well. The next event we have is Club Rush Week, is the following week, and it's going to be the 28th to the 30th. And this is where all of our clubs and groups at Weber High will be able to advertise themselves and help gain participation membership from our student body. So I'd really push your students to get involved with the school and see what's going on and find a way to be connected to our school outside of just coming to class every day. And then homecoming is scheduled for the week of the 16th to the 21st. That's a month out, but that's a really big event. And then we'll have everything going on that we've had in the past, including a parade, obviously the game on Friday night, and then hopefully some fireworks and maybe some other events. So we look forward to doing that. The last thing I want to talk about is our school is working on earning our Purple Star designation. The Purple Star School Designation Program is a program that recognizes schools for their attempts to support military-connected families and students. And so we're going to be doing a lot of things this year to earn that designation, including activities, professional development with our teachers, faculty, and staff, and then just helping any military-connected students feel welcome here at Weber High. So we're working on that. There is an opening social event that anyone's welcome to join at Rocky Mountain Junior High. This is a district-wide event. It's on September 5th from 5:30 to 8:30. So if that's something you're interested in, please go out. We'll have posters hanging around the school, and we're going to send out more information about that as we get a little bit closer. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. So we've covered athletics activities. Our last assistant principal, also new to us this year, is Miss Brooke Young. And I have Brooke doing a super important job this year. She is over all of our counselors, our instructional programs. She makes sure all of our surveys go well, and she takes care of our master schedule and is over all of our high stakes testing. So Miss Young, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, Weber High stakeholders. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Miss Brooke Young. Some of you may recognize me. It is a pleasure to be back at Weber High. As a Weber High alumna, I know the importance of strong tradition of academic rigor and success, and I'm grateful to be a part of your students' journey here as the administrator over counseling and assessment. So thank you for your patience in our new SIS, Student Information System, PowerSchool, in getting your students registered for classes. We know that PowerSchool is a great system, and we are learning and improving with it each day. We understand some student schedules have issues in them, such as missing core classes, duplicate class periods, or holes where schedules are not showing. Our amazing counseling team is working diligently to correct these issues. If your student has any issues with their schedule, we ask that you please use the link or the QR code emailed out, posted on the website, or printed in the office. Counselors are working through those requests in the order they are received. Please do not panic if your classes are not correct. The counseling team will get to you as soon as possible. We have had a lot of change in faculty this year with the opening of 2 new schools in our district. And we have hired some great educators who are eager to meet your students. We have left the schedule change window open until Monday, August 26th, to allow your students 2 A days and 2 B days in those classes. Thank you for supporting our faculty and giving them a chance to meet your students and give an overview of the curriculum before transferring classes. We are at a full capacity this year, so other class choices may be very limited. Lastly, a reminder that back to school night is tonight, August 19th, from 3 to 6:30 p.m. with a new student and sophomore orientation at 5:30 p.m. in our auditorium, hosted by our amazing counseling team. Thank you for your time today, and please reach out with any questions. My contact information is listed on our website. I'll turn the time back over to Principal Ketchhold. Go Warriors.
Thanks, Brooke. So assistant principals, you guys are dismissed. If you guys got other stuff you got to do. Again, their emails are all listed on the website in case you guys have questions for them. So really quick, I'm going to post the agenda that I'm following. I sent this out in an email to everybody, but I'm going to post it in the chat again for those of you guys that just came in. I'm going to start going through some of those things. A couple things I'll do really quick. I'm going to try this a couple different ways as we do this, since this is the first time we're doing it. If you're on a computer, we want to talk Q&A and show you guys how to submit those questions. So if you're on a computer, on the bottom right, there's a little triangle, circle, and square. And if you hit that button, you'll see a Q&A thing, a Q&A item like 4 down, and it's got a gold question mark. If you click on that, you can submit questions. If they're relevant to what I'm covering at the time, I'll answer it. I'm going to try to answer every single question that you guys have before I check out today from this call. If you are on a phone, I want to show you how to do it from your phone. So, and I'm logged into this, but on your phone, there's 3 little dots there. If you click the 3 dots, you get that same icon, that activities icon. If you click that activities icon, you'll see that second one down. It says Q&A. And if you click that, you can submit questions. I'm going to try to get through the agenda, but I'm going to be answering questions as they come up. And you guys can look at the agenda as well. So as you heard from those assistant principals, they are incredible. The pace of the office this year is much faster, and that helps us get more things done. So it's really helpful to have assistant principals who are grinding every day and doing their best to solve problems. Sometimes it feels like we're just professional problem solvers, and that's all we are. So, all right, I'm going to jump in. So this first item on the agenda is this summer newsletter to the community. If you haven't seen that yet, I highly encourage you to take a look. It's got a lot of information here. I'll post it on the chat just so you guys can see that. There's a lot in there. Our new faculty and staff, we actually just lost Mr. Potiker very late to WIC. He's going to be working half at WIC and half on the district communications team that Superintendent Butters has put together. So great pickup for them, but we were able to snag Ashley Potiker, his daughter, so I feel like we kind of got a Potiker upgrade there. So that was really good for us. That newsletter lays out a lot of things, right? If you guys are curious to know what's kind of goes through my mind as the principal of a large comprehensive public high school, I tried to put it out there in that newsletter. So you guys can go ahead and take a look at that. The next thing I want to cover is, there's a lot of different ways to describe this, but it's essentially what I hope to accomplish at Weber High before I have a different assignment. And it's captured in pages 4 and 5 of that newsletter if you want to look at it. So I'm actually going to start with page 5 if you're following along, on that table there. The title of that page is called The Accountability Landscape. So every state, has some sort of accountability system, and it's a way that schools are ranked and sorted in the state. Okay, and the important thing to note about school accountability systems, state public education accountability systems, or state education accountability systems is that they're imperfect, right? They don't always measure the things that we want them to measure. Sometimes some schools are better at some things that aren't represented in the accountability system. And I'm the first person to recognize that. It's important to understand that the Utah State Board of Education has designed this accountability system, and the job of a high school principal, or any principal for that matter, is to understand that accountability system and try to succeed within the parameters of that accountability system, right? So again, it's not perfect. And I'm a public education advocate through and through. And so that accountability system, people may not know this, but if you go to the Utah State Board of Education website, there's a spreadsheet that essentially ranks every single school, public, private, charter in the state of Utah. So my first goal is quite simple. That table in that newsletter puts us at 215 in the state. Now that's everything. That's elementary, secondary, public, private, charter. Since I've started working at Weber, starting my 3rd year, the thing that I've heard a lot is we get compared to Farmington High, Davis High. That's why I put those 2 schools on there. And then I put 2 schools that we're similar to demographically, in American Fork and Skyridge. But I just want people to see that on an accountability front, we can improve, right? So by the time I leave, I would love to be top 100 in the state on that same spreadsheet, and that's lagging data, right? So those spreadsheets, those metrics don't come out for periods of time. But my first goal is to just get us performing better as a school under our given accountability metrics. It's it's super important because those are essentially the receipts, right? Like that's just kind of how we're performing. And while it's not perfect, it's the system we have. Our state school board, our legislators, are on a political landscape. All of these groups are referring to this data to make decisions. So while it doesn't cover everything and it's not always fair, it's the system we have, and we'd like to be better in that. And there's other factors that contribute to that. If you look at real estate values in Kaysville, Farmington, in that area, they're high, right? And we know for sure that public education, public school performance has direct correlations with real estate value, right? So it's just in everyone's best interest for us to be ranked higher. So that's my first goal. A little bit long-winded, I apologize for that. The second goal is on page 4. And the title of it is, it's a culture of learning for all, right? And I think, I think it's a good vision for any school, but public education is like it's under tremendous scrutiny a lot, and teachers feel a lot of pressure. Administrators feel a lot of pressure, especially if you look at the legislative landscape here. We just had a major recent legislation that appropriated $42.5 million every year, to an avenue that takes kids theoretically out of public education, right? And the thing that's hard for me about that is, if you look at charter schools and private schools, oftentimes their teachers are less educated, they're not paid as well, their attrition rates are higher, and there's other metrics too that are associated with that, right? So for me, oftentimes working in public schools, we kind of fall into this culture of blame, right? Like teachers blame the district, teachers blame the principal, teachers blame each other, teachers blame parents because the kids aren't behaving, teachers blame kids because they're not making good choices, parents blame teachers for being one way or the other, principals and administrators, like we just start to kind of blame, and it really conflates the system with a lot of negative feedback. And oftentimes these are things that there's not really a whole ton of value in complaining about it. It's better that we focus all of our energy on believing that we can make a difference together. So the second thing I would love is for when I leave here, particularly the teachers, to feel like despite the challenges, collectively, they feel like they can produce the results they want. And, we know that, and I'm sure all of you guys who are tuning in here know too, when you work in a group, and your group actually feels like they can produce results they want, they're more likely to produce those results. So in sum, if I had a vision or a goal for what I would like the school to be at when I leave, it's to be ranked higher, which I can check a spreadsheet to know whether or not I've succeeded in that area. And 2, for the adults in the building to feel like together they can make the difference that they want without having to blame all these external accountability measures that oftentimes we don't have control over, right? Weber High School has everything it needs to do something incredible. And I'm just going to try to make it so that all of our employees in the building can see that and they can realize that. So that's that. I'll go through a couple of these other things faster. So Elevate 28, if you haven't heard about that or seen that yet, Superintendent Butters and the Weber School District Board of Education approved a comprehensive strategic plan, and it's phenomenal. It's one of the best I've seen. I've been an administrator in 3 districts. This is my 7th year, and it's an incredible document. I don't know how publicly available it is yet, but it's amazing, and it's good, and it really helps me to kind of work backwards from the goals that the district has on an everyday basis. So there's that. The next thing is, a lot of you guys have heard about this. There's been lots of communication. There's a board policy that's been passed on cell phones. And I've hyperlinked the board policy that has been board approved. And I would encourage all of you guys as parents to read through it. It's pretty explicit in terms of what we're supposed to do to try to control the cell phones. So there's section 6 in there that says student violations, and you guys can read through that. But essentially the first violation, if you will, is that we're just going to redirect the behavior, and the teachers may contact parents. The second is that the device will be confiscated, and a teacher and administrator will keep it till the end of class in a secure location. And at that point, parents or guardians will be notified. Third violation, confiscation of the device sent to administration or main office staff. The device shall remain in the possession of the school administrator or office staff until the end of the school day. The administrator or office staff may notify the parent guardian of the student's violation. So you can just see it kind of has a progressive nature. The thing I would say about this is not something unique to Weber High School, Weber School District, or even Utah. 2 out of the 3 largest districts in the country are doing this, right? And I want to add to that, while it's primarily cell phones, it's AirPods, tablets, smartwatches. And the policy is specific to instructional time. All right, so outside of the instructional setting, it's different. But when it's instructional time, there are certain parameters that are in place. And again, this is something sweeping kind of the whole country. I wouldn't be surprised if it's international as well. So again, not something isolated to public education in Utah. A lot of places are doing it. And I'm really curious to see how it goes, in 3 to 5 years, what the impacts are, because it's a really big change. Next, Weber High Math. So our math department has undergone some really significant changes in terms of their instructional program this year. When I got into this job and started looking at and examining math at Weber High, I just knew that we needed to make a change with how we did things. And so we took a look at some of the really successful programs in the state, and we tried to kind of model and adapt our practices after those to some degree, but something that would still work at Weber High. So if you're a sophomore and you're coming to, if you're a sophomore parent, you're coming to orientation tonight, our math department head will be there covering the changes. But essentially, we wanted to kind of open up opportunities to allow kids to earn quantitative literacy math college credit by the time they graduate. Sometimes we get in this mindset that there's a certain math pathway we have to take, but oftentimes it's not really relevant to what a lot of students are going to be doing after they graduate high school. However, we still want kids to have the opportunity to earn college math credit, that quantitative literacy requirement. So we'll have that more in detail, but essentially we've created and worked backwards from potential majors or things kids might do post-secondary, and worked back in our programming to try to create something that will allow another option for kids who, they want to get college math credit, but they don't want to be accountants, right? They don't want to be engineers, but they still want their math credit. So more to come on that. Your students will be hearing a lot about that. This next one is something that I want to spend a bit of time on here. And if I get questions in here, I'll be happy to pause and answer them as they come in. And I know that we've got about almost 40 folks in here, and I understand that the audience is going to be varied. Some people are going to be like, I've never heard people talk about e-cigarettes and vaping at Weber High. Some people are going to be like, that's all I hear about. Other people are going to be like, yeah, it might be kind of an issue. So this is something that I really need your guys' help with. Is sometimes it gets passed on to me. It makes its way to my office that it's insinuated that Weber High School is somehow like significantly above the mean or above average for the frequency of this behavior in our school, right? Sometimes it makes its way back to me that there have been parent groups or even sometimes, and it's employees too, that, vaping and e-cigarettes happen significantly more at Weber High than they do at other schools. Okay, so this is like pretty disheartening in the sense that all of the data that we have for this, and it primarily comes from one survey that's administered statewide. So we have statewide data. It's just not the case. It's just not the case that Weber High is somehow above the mean or more prolific in terms of its vaping and e-cigarettes. And those parents who are in here who have worked with me know that I don't mind owning where we're short as the principal and where we have gaps relative to other people like us. This is not one of those areas. So I think sometimes it's really harmful to our school culture because there's so many phenomenal things happening at Weber High. And it's just been a little bit discomforting to me to hear this come back to the office kind of over and over. All the data we have suggests that we look a lot like any other comprehensive public high school with 2,000 kids. Am I accepting of that? Absolutely not. Is it something I would love to eradicate? Absolutely. Always, every day. We always commit to doing a better job than we're doing. And here's the ultimate point I want to make with any sort of drug, alcohol, or vaping narrative that happens is, and I went to a Weber Communities That Care meeting, and we discussed this at length, and a key leader board meeting. And, you know, thinking about this issue in a binary way, it creates a lot of polarization. Okay, so, you know, typically we see people who are like, if the kid uses it, kick them out of school. They need to be charged criminally and they need to be kicked out of school. And then sometimes you have the other side, which is like, you know, we're not going to do anything punitive to them because it doesn't work. And now we're just going to take what they have and send them back to class, right? So when we get in these binary elements of thinking, it's really damaging to making any progress in the school. So I've hyperlinked something there on that bullet point in the agenda. And I couldn't, whenever this comes up, I always think about this term that I learned when I was getting one of my master's degrees in public administration. And there's this certain term for certain issues in public administration, which I work in public administration. And it's a term we use to describe things that are really complex to solve. And it's called a wicked problem. I've hyperlinked that. That's something that's taken place, and it's actually from Australia, but you know, it's what I found that was relevant first. Homelessness, poverty, smoking, cigarettes, you know, climate change, all these things, these are things that we often refer to as wicked problems. And it's because they're inherently complex to solve. And if you do solve it, you oftentimes create a lot more problems than you had in the first place. So I just really encourage you guys to spread the word that, one, Weber High is not exceptional in its frequency of things like vaping in the school. It looks a lot like every other public comprehensive high school. And that's not necessarily good, but spending exorbitant amounts of time talking about how bad vaping is at Weber High, one, the data doesn't show that. Two, it's counterproductive to all the great things that are happening at our school, because it gives us this reputation, this narrative that's false. I can tell you anecdotally, I'm starting my third year here as an administrator, and I have had days where all I do is walk in and out of bathrooms. And I can tell you, in being both an assistant principal role and the principal role, I still have yet to walk into a bathroom and see someone smoking. That has not happened for me yet. And I'm grateful, you know, but to suggest that the behavior is so prolific that we can't help but stumble over it all the time, that we see kids smoking in the commons or anything like that, it's really damaging, because Weber High is the best school I've ever worked at, has the best parents, has the best kids. It's got great academic performance. You know, it's just not helpful. So I am really going to take a stand against this. You know, and if we did have a situation where these sorts of behaviors were exceptionally high relative to other schools who are similar to us, I would be strategically acting to fix that. And I still am strategically acting to fix it. It's just, we need to understand what the data tells us before we perpetuate really unhealthy narratives about a certain behavior in a school. So I need your guys' help in flipping the script on that, right? Like, we're not going to say that it never happens at Weber, or that we couldn't have a really horrible case of some abuse of drugs. That could happen. But to suggest longitudinally that Weber High is somehow worse than other high schools, it's not true in any data source that I could find. And there are definitely parents who have worked directly with me who I've had this conversation with a number of times. And I'd encourage you to talk to them about the conversations they've had with me individually around this topic. So we need help with that. This next thing here is school-wide behavior expectations. So this is also in the newsletter I sent out. It's important that we start to implement some behavior systems at Weber High. I don't know that Weber High's had them before. And essentially what this means is, you know, we need systems in place for managing behavior. A lot of our teachers just kind of feel like disruptive or problematic student behavior kind of happens to us. We don't really have systems and processes for redirecting the behavior or correcting the behavior. And so one place to start is by establishing some school-wide behavior expectations. And we went through a very in-depth self-study last year where we tried to discover the collective will of the school around what core values were most important to them. And that's the results of that self-study. So this year, we're going to work backwards from those behavior expectations: accountability, integrity, and respect. You guys can see a poster I have behind me. That's what those things look like in my office. So in theory, we have one of those in a lot of our spaces, classrooms, public areas, where we teach the kids what it means to do those things. And we reinforce them when they do a good job. And then we have other ways for redirecting the behavior when they fall short of those behavior expectations. So that's a really, really, really complex school improvement task. It's one of the hardest ones that I've ever done. Luckily, I get my third chance to try and do it better here at Weber High. So that's something that we're investing a lot of time in trying to develop. Like, what does it mean to have integrity in a math class? What does it mean to be accountable when you're in the auditorium in an assembly? So we're trying to kind of create some systems and structures for affecting behavior, not just feeling like it's always affecting us. So there's that. Mr. Allen mentioned safety vestibules. We also had an office remodel. So if you haven't been into our office in some time, it looks very different when you walk in. Just know that. And yeah, the vestibules are a huge benefit, right? It's a major building hardening task that's been completed. When we talk about school safety, we often talk about ways to harden the building, and a vestibule is a great step toward that. So that's been good. Our teachers and our staff are currently trying to learn how to navigate the doors. They're kind of problematic. We have badges now that get us from place to place. The office is significantly more secure than it was. If you haven't seen yet, the bell schedules are there, also linked. I'll post the agenda one more time for anybody that's coming late. You can see those there. Remember, we have the weekly early outs this year. Last year, we did not have that. I'm very grateful and thankful to the school board for doing that. At Weber High, we actually got instructional time back in the classroom as a result of that. So that's been a good thing. If you're interested in serving on a community council, that group helps me spend hundreds of thousands of dollars at the school, and it helps me, they help me take a look at where our most critical needs are that we need to funnel financial resources. So we have had quite a few people reach out wanting to participate in that. I'm going to start that process very quickly in the next week or two. If an election is needed, we'll have one. But if you would like to participate in that, or you know someone who might, they can email our head secretary, Mrs. Rachel Hedgepeth, about that as well. This next item is a very different thing than what Weber High's had before. So traditionally at Weber High, in the first week or so of school, administration has scheduled grade level assemblies. That's where an entire grade level goes to the auditorium, and administration kind of talks about specific things, behavior things, assemblies, extracurricular events, counseling, all those things. So personally, I feel like it's really not intimate enough to mean anything. And they just kind of end up being a place where our kids show up and they don't really pay attention. They're not really getting much out of it. So what we've done as an administrative team this year is we've actually committed, and Mr. Gross has developed a schedule that's going to put an administrator in every single flex class. We want that to be a more intimate environment where the kids are really looking at us and they're engaged with us and they're listening to what we have to say as administrators. So flex is going to start a little bit later, but we're going to go to every single flex class as an administrator. We're going to break up into 4 teams, 1 administrator each team going to a flex class. And we're going to cover things like the electronic device policy, school-wide behavior expectations, certain other things that we expect from them. We're hoping to create a little bit more of an engaging environment by going to every flex class, as opposed to putting 600 sophomores in the auditorium with a slideshow. So that's something we're changing this year. Next item. Some of you may have heard about this, others not. We have a lot of construction going on down in our lower 500s. It's like if you guys walk into the Commons and you turn right and you go downstairs, it's the CTE area. It's where Mr. Stanger's room is, Miss Larson, Mark Larson, Mr. Larson, driver's ed. We're getting a teen center put in. A couple of other schools in our district have this. This is a resource that is mostly going to be accessed outside of the school day. We're going to have a staff member that works in it. I'm hoping to set up kind of a swing shift type thing with that. And it's basically like some of our students who are having very legitimate and genuine hygiene issues or access to food. That's going to be a resource that's available for them. There's washers and dryers in there and other things. That's currently under construction. I don't have a finish date, but it's going to be a very valuable, very intensive support for kids who are really having trouble with basic needs, right? Beyond like, hey, I forgot to eat this morning and I'm hungry, right? We can get them something from counseling or something like that. So that's going on as well. And on that note, I was told earlier this week that Weber High, as some of you guys know, is a beautifully constructed building. And it's got the highest quality facilities, and it's just wonderful. And I'm definitely joking there because I mean that in the most sarcastic way possible, but we do what we can with it. I love it, but at the same time, it's old and it's got concerns in it. So when they were doing this teen center construction, they discovered an issue that's going to cause them to have to do construction on the front ADA ramp out here. So that's going to be a construction area for now. I'm working with the district to get all the X's and O's of what that exactly looks like. Though they said the moisture issue is coming from that area out there. So any relevant details that come about because of that, I will be sure to communicate to all of our parents. But that is something that came up. So as mentioned before, Miss Young mentioned this, back to school nights tonight from 3 to 6:30. Sophomore and new student orientation is tonight at 5:30 in the auditorium. So that's all I have. So at this time, I'm going to hang out. And again, if you have questions, if you're on a computer and you have questions, I'm going to stay and answer questions, but you just click that blue activities box and you go to Q&A, you can ask questions and I'm happy to stay to answer them. And if not, then you guys are dismissed. Again, this is recording and I'll post it to the website within the next week or so. So I thank you guys very much for your time. I'll stay around and ask questions. And the next one of these is in October, right? Encourage people to come here. It's come hear us. It's a great way to have a lot more in-depth information about some of the big issues going on, big projects going on in the school. So community council is going to meet 5 times this year. I just got a question. Community council is going to meet 5 times this year. The first time we meet will be in October. Something else that is very impending for me is that my wife is very, very pregnant with twins. And so I will be out for a bit at home with them. Not sure exactly how much time, but I'm hoping to get the first community council meeting when I'm back from that. So good question. If you guys don't have any questions, you can head out, or I'll hang out and watch the box. I think we're probably going to go Wednesdays again for community council, but I plan on, once we finalize the group, we're going to try to figure out what works best for everybody. So A little flexible there, but potentially Wednesdays again. So we just got a few people left. I'll hang out till 9:45.
Are you able to see all the questions? If you go to that.
If you can help me. So.
Oh,
It was actually.
All right, everyone. I'm going to end the recording now, and we'll see you in October for the next one. Go ahead and spread the word. It'd be great. Thank you guys for everything.